Hey, it is the Super Geek, and we are here with a tier list real quick. We're not going to do anything crazy here. This is going to be a quick, less than 5 minute tier list on the YouTube. Probably going to be repurposed on the TikTok and the Twitter and maybe the Instagram if I can get that going. But we're going to do a tier list of all of the wrestling companies. Now, not all of them. We have, a select. There's probably 11 here, and I'll probably rank, maybe 10 of them, which I think is enough. So let's start off with the big boy of them all, S tier, the company that does it the best, the company that's been doing it longer than anybody consistently, the WWE. Obviously, an S tier company. They make more money than anybody else. They've beat the competition multiple times. Not only have they beaten the competition, they've also bought the competition. Next on the list, and I think that this is probably the number 2 wrestling company of all time, just because of how close they were to threatening Vince McMahon and taking down them. The WWE, and even then they hemorrhaged money a lot of years. And we're gonna put WCW on there. Again, they hemorrhaged money a lot of years. For how many years they were in business, they only made money 2 or 3 years, or they made profits 2 or 3 years. I mean, they were iconic wrestlers, but a lot of their iconic wrestlers and a lot of their iconic moments outside of Ric Flair and Sting. I mean, Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. I was gonna say Bret Hart, but that didn't quite work out like it should have. But you can't deny that former WWE household names carried WCW into superstardom. Saying that though, they did beat WWE. Vince was, they did sell the water coolers. So that was the closest that WWE came to going out of. You know what? I think I'm gonna. The more I'm talking, and the more I'm looking at the rest of this list, I'm gonna put them in the A tier because they did almost put Vince out of business. And again, they did have Sting and Ric Flair. And I just think that if I can, because it's either if I put them in B, I'm gonna put everybody else in C, D, and F. And I don't know if I really want to do that. So I'm gonna put them in A, and then the next company that I'm going to put on here is going to be ECW, and C for ECW. I want to be a little bit critical with this. ECW, I don't. ECW was great for what it was. It was hardcore wrestling. It was garbage wrestling, if you want to say that. ECW was tremendous. They had a unique product. They had a lot of of good wrestlers that would go on to become household names, like Sabu, like Rob Van Dam, like Tommy Dreamer, like the Sandman. But a lot of checks were being bounced, and they were, paying Peter to whatever, you know what I mean, to whatever. So a lot, again, they were kind of hemorrhaging money at times. Needed WWE's help to stay in business in 96, 97. So for that, I'm going to put them in C. I'm going to put the NWA in B. See, this is here. You know what? We're putting the NWA in B, which is why I'm happy that we put WCW in A. Because the NWA has been around for a long time, since the 40s. They were, the Wrestling Commission. They're still in business right now, thanks to Billy Corgan. They're running shows. They have a world title. I'm not really the biggest fan of what they're doing right now. I think they could probably be a lot better. But saying that, they have that history. They have that world title. The NWA World's Heavyweight title that Impact used and WCW used, right? So that has the lineage. Ric Flair held it. I mean, so they're going in the B tier. The next company we are going to put on here is going to be AEW. I think they belong in the C tier right now. I think they definitely have the potential to get up to the A tier, like where WCW was. Are they going to get up to the S tier? I don't know. The thing about WWE is it's such a household name, and it's so much easier for me to say, hey, I'm a WWE fan than I'm a wrestling fan to people. Because they know what I'm talking about, and I'm sure you get that too. Because sometimes when people hear wrestling, they think of Greco-Roman and Chad Gable before he got to the WWE kind of wrestling. But yeah, I think AEW's on C tier. I think they definitely could get up to A tier, or A tier. S tier again is synonymous. WWE is going to be there for forever. I don't think AEW has a chance to put them out of business. I'm sorry, AEW fans, but they just don't. But they could get up to AEW, or to the A tier rather, and they could definitely gain fan, and have a global presence. And I think with the New Japan Pro Wrestling joint show that's coming up, and I think with the Satnam Singh and having a more international presence, that's the way to get to the A tier. And just making more product awareness. But for now, they're C. Again, they're doing some good stuff right now. They kind of be, they kind of, they seem to be kind of stuck around the 1 million viewer mark on TBS right now with Dynamite. I'd love to see them get over that hump and then maybe get themselves in the B tier. It would be interesting to see if we could revisit this in a year or two from now and see where an AEW or an Impact or even like an ROH is or an MLW. Which, speaking of MLW, I'm going to put them in the I'm gonna put them in the F tier. I think for active promotion, I think they have. I think one thing that MLW does better than a lot of companies is talent scouting, and I think with Jacob Fatu, and I think with Hammerstone, and they had MJF, and they have Richard Holiday, and they just signed locked up Juicy Finau, who I really like. I think they have an eye for scouting. I think they're a little bit too much trying to be like ECW. I would be fine if they toned down the gimmicks. It'll be interesting to see how this WWE lawsuit goes. I mean, good for them. They're operating right now. They're giving guys an opportunity to make money. I just think that when I'm thinking about the companies that I'm going to put in that D tier, MLW deserves to have a place at the table, but not to be on that D tier. So I'm going to go with F, but again, good for them for being in operation. Next company that I'm going to throw on here is going to be, oh my god, this just kind of reset on me, and we're going to reload this. Next company that I'm going to put on here is going to be New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they are going to go in the A tier because they have a global presence, because people watch it in Japan, people watch it over here, people watch it in England, they have, I would say they have more of an audience in Japan than over here, obviously, and I don't think that you can discredit that, and I feel like because we're so North American focused, we tend to do that sometimes, but I really don't think you can, and I think they have a great product. I think they have names that, are big names over there, and that kind of are names over here, like an Okada and like Suzuki, and guys like that. And they have the world title that has a lot of lineage there, or that, well, I guess because they made a new world title. But it's very respectable and a very historical product. They're never going to challenge WWE to be the number one promotion in the world, and I don't think they want to be, because I think they're just kind of cool with being number one in Japan and doing their US shows. So that's why they're being put in the A tier. Next company we are going to put on here is going to be Ring of Honor. They got bought out by Tony Khan, so they were, they should be off the list actually, because F failed, even though MLW it hasn't failed and is still operating. But ROH belongs in the F tier. Sinclair sold them to Tony Khan. Tony Khan kind of bought his competition, even though ROH wasn't really competition to them. I think that ROH has a chance for a new second life. It's going to be so interesting to see what Tony Khan does with this product. I'm very curious to see that, because he's already got his guys winning the championships there. Jonathan Gresham still is holding the ROH title. But you know what? And here's what now that I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna put ROH in C, because just because they got bought out doesn't mean that they were a failure. Because I put WCW on here, I just realized that I kind of put other promotions on here. And ROH, for what it was, did get, was the home promotion for guys like CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli and Chris Hero and Samoa Joe and AJ Styles wrestled there. Jay Lethal, Adam Cole, Adam Page, Kenny Omega was there. The list goes on and on of just household names that were guys that would become household names that got their start in Ring of Honor or had prevalent runs in Ring of Honor. So for that reason, I'm putting them on the C tier. I think they definitely belong in the same tier as ECW, and I think ECW was a more popular product for sure. But I think when you look at the guys that ROH had and the guys that ROH kind of gave birth to and what they would do in wrestling and in the future of wrestling, I don't think you can discredit that. And I think they definitely, like I said, belong in that same tier as ECW. So let's see, what else are we going to throw on here? This is such a tough ranking right now, because they were the number 2 promotion at one point. I'm going to put Impact on the C tier as well. Impact was the number 2 promotion for a period of time. Impact TNA. I really enjoyed TNA at one point in time, and then they really lost me. I was not a big fan of Aces and Eights. I thought that storyline kind of sucked, to be honest with you. The Hogan stuff I wasn't a big fan of. Everything with Vince Russo, I they're so close to being on that beat here because again, I do admire that they did a run. I mean, they had money like AEW has right now. They did have guys like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian and I mean CM Punk did that too. And they gave a guy like EC3 another life, and they're still operating right now, which is cool. And it's still a place for guys to make money, but they never quite made that leap, and because of that, I don't think I can put them in the B tier. As much as I kind of hate to say it, because I do really think they had a chance to do that at one point, and it just never happened for them. Next one we're gonna go up with is GCW. Another place that guys are making money. It's cool. It's indie. It's garbage wrestling. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody by saying that, but it is kind of trashy wrestling. But hey, again, it's a place for guys to make money. It's cool. They get to do this nostalgia stuff with Sean Waltman, and Matt Cardona's ripping it up there. Moxley's doing stuff there. I mean, it's cool. I've spent money on their shows before, so that's cool. And I'm going to put PWG in the same bin. PWG got super popular at one point, and super popular on the internet at one point. Young Bucks were doing stuff there. I know that Kevin Steen was champion. I think Generico might have been champion too, excuse me. But they were notorious for having really good wrestling and actually drawing crowds in SoCal. And again, another place for guys to make money. So shout out to PWG. Definitely, I think belongs in that D tier as an indie that you can really remember, I guess, for a lot, but never made that leap. And I'm gonna put CZW on there too. What else am I gonna throw on here? I'm gonna throw AAA on the B tier, another company with a ton of history, just in a different market, similar to New Japan. Just happens to be in Mexico, but cannot discredit the popularity of it down in Mexico and the the championships and the history there, and a lot of guys that like Chris Jericho, or no, he was CMLL, but I think a lot of guys that I think it's a proving ground, I guess, going down in Mexico and being able to prove it down there for U.S. guys. And they have all these legendary luchadors and lucha libre history there. So I think AAA belongs on the B tier. Why not? Let's see, what else do we got on here? I think some UK stuff, which I'm not gonna. Lucha Underground. That's what this is, right? I will throw this on the F tier. I thought it had potential to maybe do something. Never really happened. I would say it's definitely on the MLW tier, maybe a little bit higher, because they did have more TV, and they did have guys like, John Morrison wrestling there, and I think Del Rio wrestled there, and I think Mysterio may have made an appearance. Could be wrong about that. But never quite made the leap. I think there was like money issues and stuff like that. I mean, it would have been cool. I was kind of hoping that it would be like the number 3 promotion, because I kept hearing Conan talk about it and the potential for it, which never quite happened. And you know what? Here, I'm going to finish this out with Evolve, and I'm going to throw them in the D tier too, just as like kind of like a really good indie, I guess. Gabe ran it. A lot of guys in WWE got their starts there. I know Austin Theory got his start there. And I think when you look back at Evolve, I think you're going to look at it as having a really good place in wrestling, but never breaking on to the level of an ROH or an AEW or an ECW or an Impact or anything like that. So I think they belong in the D tier. But yeah, this has been the tier list. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I stayed, on topic pretty good. I know I'm really trying to, take the feedback and put it into this. And I really hope you enjoyed. But again, if you have any feedback or anything like that, please, please just let me know.